more interesting. But this is where we're going to find out as we hop into the draft for the first game of the series. Reminder that the Azir is globally banned, thankfully, in the middle of the screen right there. As, yeah,
first ban.
Some carrier focus, understandable.
That's not Smolder. Interesting, interesting.
Well,
second ban for T1. It's got to be in the first 3. There's no way they leave it open.
Another carrier ban.
That is once again not... Okay, third ban Smolder, we're looking like. Maybe the Kalista ban for... They actually go for the Orianna, so Kalista left open.
Yep, carries Orianna.
Does make picking Smolder dangerous into it, but
I think maybe... Okay, the Kalista is going to be banned. Is it just the first pick? It's not. It's going to be a tree. So Sponge going to be the Maokai in this game. Lucian and the Rel. So Lucian, Rel, Nami probably going to be the first 3 here for T1.
I think you just do it.
You just Karma Smolder, right? Something like that?
I think Karma with Maokai is not that hot.
Oh, that's true.
But you might just do it anyway, you know? But I definitely think you pick up the Smolder.
Yeah.
You know also you're going to go into Lucian Nami almost definitely. So you can take like... We've seen Smolder Lulu. It's been able to trade in that. They end up going for the Trist.
All right.
Actually go for it.
That makes me a little bit sad.
Unless...
They still haven't locked this in yet. Some options.
Oh, hover the top laners, then lock Smolder, so they think it's Smolder top.
Oh, do it.
Genius, genius.
Yeah, hover Renekton and then lock Smolder because it's like Crocodile and then Dragon. It's like similar sort of vibes.
Yeah.
Scaly
scaly
reptilian thing. What?
I think they're cousins. Third cousins, 7th times removed.
I think they're, you know, they're a different species, and like you and I aren't cousins, and we're the same species, you know. So I think no.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with no.
Thanks for the analysis on that one. No, I was a little bit unsure. Didn't know how.
Yeah, no. I've got you. Don't you worry.
Didn't know how crocodiles and dragons, the family tree between them.
Well, Nami, as we expected, is going to be locked away, and there is a Lulu ban as well.
Yeah, I think this is actually a pretty smart ban, because whether you go Aphelios or Zeri or Smolder or whatever, Lulu pretty good at trading into the Lucian Nami, as we've seen time and time before, so wanting to limit that. And yeah, we talked about maybe we see something interesting come out from T1, maybe we see an adaptation, maybe we see something different. Lucian Nami was what they picked up against Honor Life Esports, and it didn't go too hot then.
No, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Lucian Nami just in general, but Gumi Shikariya have been pretty good at it, and I've always really liked Carrier's Nami just in general. So, I mean, that does win it a few points back. I still hate it. Just want to make that abundantly clear. Just not a huge fan of Lucian Nami at the moment, even after what Viper was able to do, even though he was focused in every single team fight in the previous series.
I was going to say, it looks like a good Ahri angle. A lot of mid laners banned who you normally pick into it, but they end up going for the Twisted Fate. For Zeus, and they're saving their mid pick till 5. Ooh. I guess no pressure, it's going to get stolen away. I'm not so sure about this one.
I'm not a huge fan. If there's a bottom lane that I like less than Lucian Nami, it is Zyra Khan at this point in time.
Okay. Well, T1 get to pick now, so let's just focus on that.
Yeah. It's going to be a Hui.
I mean, last time Faker played... Okay, you know, we would talk a little bit about... Is Faker going to get the POGs? You know, what would have to happen? Are the team going to set him up? His last Hui performance, he got the POG, and he honestly just kind of steamrolled the entire game.
So there we go. He's after Chovy. See whether he can actually equalize those points.
Yep, and you know, you may think, oh, it's Lucian Nami for the Nami to buff the Lucian. No. Carrier will buff Faker, and then Owner and Zeus, their job is to hold people still.
Yes.
We can hit them. That's how it's going to work, all in unison. DRX, I think that top side is fine. I do think the Trist might have a bit of a sad time another way, just because the range difference. I hate the bot lane pickup here.
Yeah, me too.
You've actually picked something that is just going to suffer against Lucian Nami.
And suffer even more against Hui.
Yeah, Xayah into Hui sounds horrific. Also in teamfights, how are you going to engage as Rakan when there's TF on the other team? You're just going to get stun locked.
Yeah, I don't think you do. And there's plenty of things to stop Teddy from being able to just feather storm happily. And there weren't even ever really things that were feather stormable anyway. Normally it's like the Nautilus, the Vi, things like that. You want to pop these ultimates so that you're not actually going to be held down. And this feels like a default to Zyra Rakan because we're frightened type move. And that is always the worry. For that particular bottom lane. We'll see whether Teddy and Pleta can prove us wrong as we dive towards Summoner's Rift for game number 1.
환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Oh man. T1 fans, extraordinarily loud. We are on the T1 side of LoL Park right now, and we have headsets on, and I was still in a bit of trouble. Speaking of trouble, Sponge down to 300 health as Faker's painting some auto attacks his way.
Got the mana flow ban stack, I believe, so...
Oh, nailing it.
Oh.
Rascal has some friends, but Owner, I believe, doubled back for a moment there.
Strong believer in just, no matter what role you are, just walk towards mid-level 1 and just fish for a mana flow ban stack, you know, get a stacking
Yep.
early.
Yep, 100% agree.
Take that extra mana.
Stacks are dopamine. That's what we figured
That
out.
is something we very heavily established this season of the LPL. If you've, been watching, or maybe you've missed some days and you're like, what's the takeaway for this regular season?
Is it
Stacks,
we established it in the
great.
LCK as well? Because you just mentioned that we established it in the LPL.
Why did I say that?
I don't know. But
LCK.
It was established in the LPL also.
Okay, established in globally. League of Legends globally.
Globally established.
Stacking
I had the pleasure of watching some LCS earlier on today, and got to hear from our boy Umpty.
Oh yeah?
It was absolutely fantastic. Makes you realize that, you know how we have like the coaches interviews and they're always pretty stale and they're not really saying too much? Umpty proves that LCK players can like trash talk.
Yeah.
And we've known this before. We have seen that there has been some really good trash talk videos. Fortunately, it's just not happening more recently. Which is
Yeah. I was watching back the other day.
Oh yeah, no, I was watching with you.
Yeah. When was it? It was the Samsung White SKT one.
Yeah.
Back in the day, that one was peak.
It was actually just ridiculous.
Oh, so good.
Imp did not care.
No.
He would just say whatever he felt like in those interviews.
Such a banger.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely would love to see the return of those, but not sure.
Oh, Blade Caller actually going to get a little bit of a snare onto Gamushi, and then Pleta immediately regrets his decision to go in.
This is part of the problem. It's definitely level 3 is where Zyra Khan gets a bit more strength, but wow.
Yeah. There's a lot of feathers on the ground, so they're not going to move forward. Also missed a bunch of that CS. A little bit of a shame.
I just think the problem is with this lane is you don't really have that much kill pressure on the Lucian unless Guma horrifically misplays, and they're just going to out-sustain your trades and just keep poking you, And it's a pretty chill lane for Lucian and Nami, and then once they get to that one item point in mid lane where they can just hang around and poke you out, it's good vibes.
Yeah. We'll just see where the DRX, the rest of the map, they can actually get something going on, because of course Tristan and Maokai together has been pretty powerful, not necessarily super early, but can certainly get things done. And in team fights, I guess eventually things can be all right, but I am very worried.
Yeah.
I do share your sentiment.
I'm very, because the thing is, this mid lane matchup is probably the best for DRX. And so far, I mean, yeah, he was just a bit chunked out, nothing more, but like top lane is getting blasted right now. We haven't even looked over, but look at Rascal's
We don't want
far.
to. Yeah, I'd prefer it if we just, Jonah Strong, please just don't head up top lane.
Yeah, it's not going too hot right now for DRX. It's just like 500 gold lead already, just mostly from like CS gaps and top lane.
Yeah, make it 700. Kind of ridiculous. Yahoo does have this entire wave to pick up, and so that is going to be equalized somewhat. Beautifully collects all of the minions, as we can see here. As cannon. Oh,
okay,
no.
I think that's it.
No.
I think it's done. I think you cannot recover from that.
All right, game 2. Let's load it up.
Oh man,
it's a bit unfortunate. That's pushed the gold lead to 800.
Purely
that play is now. Gamushi's going to cleanse here as a bit of a battle is going on. The Aqua Prison does not really connect, but still, T1 having a pretty good trade. That ebb and flow value, triple. That's what you want to see.
I like how Guma ends up low, and Kerry is like, okay, it's fine, I'll take over, I'll trade 1v2.
Yep. Just Ty calls blessings himself, as Teddy found a little bit of trouble. There is the Maw out from Faker. Does lock down Yahoo just a little bit, but does take an explosive charge for his trouble.
Yeah, he just TP'd back. Okay, he cancelled. I thought he was recalling again. I'm like, you just TP'd in.
Yeah. A little bit of a worry. That was a really nice smite there from Sponge, able to actually take away this bub from a Rel. Pretty important. Owner will be able to get one for himself, so it's not the end of the world, but he is tanking this, and Faker is going to have to come on over here. Does have the ulti, not going to find it, as Sponge has to flash to get himself out of the way, and in fact, Faker didn't actually use the ultimate at all. Just a whole lot of other buttons were pressed.
Yep. So Sponge flashing away from that one. Was actually pretty heavily winning the 1v1 against Owner in that situation, but mid lane prio makes a difference.
Yeah. And top lane prio is going to be there as well. As we can see here, they're having a little bit of a look in. As Rascal is slicing and dicing, gets on in there, as now Zeus going to have to run, does have to use the Ghost in order to get himself out of there. Dominance from Rascal helping him here in this lane for now. Does still have the flash available, so does Zeus.
Yeah, definitely take an opportunity with that level 6. It's a big power point for the Renekton, whereas the Twisted Fate doesn't get any combat power when he hits that level, so a good punish on Zeus, and he's kind of realized he can't actually even walk up to the tower right now in this health. He will just get dove, so we'll reset. Does have the Destiny if he wants to use it, get back to lane, but he doesn't actually miss much beyond those minions under the tower already.
Whoa, that's a lot of losses for Wei so far in the mid lane, but you can see those names, not exactly players that have been winning a whole lot.
Yeah, Bulldog really not been helping out the stats on that one.
No, not really. And that was during the real downtimes of Quantum Freaks, before they decided that more dragons is the way that we win, and that's how it sort of worked. Sponge coming on over to help DRX out as Owner thinking about finding an opportunity, and there is a fantastic Magnet Storm into a double bubble from Carrier. Gumayusi now dashing in. Teddy explodes as Faker's ultimate goes off, and that is first blood for the Lucian, and Faker able to pick one up on the back end of that one as well, and DRX just a little bit baffling. Just didn't quite work out.
I mean, it's really nice engage from Owner, but DRX are kind of just like waiting for it to happen. Time and time again, you know, you clump up against a Rel, you're going to get punished for it very swiftly, and they absolutely just decided that they weren't going to abide by social distance in that one.
No, absolutely not. Faker as well, 20 CS lead off the back end of that one at the same time. I think a POG performance from the gentleman in the mid lane. What do you reckon?
You know, people have been pre-voting already, so I think it's...
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say. You might say that Owner's Engage was absolutely fantastic or something like that, but no. I think it is. It's still well-deserved. As Faker is going to back away from this one. Full culling into Pleta. Does have that Gleaming Quill to go off and have a little bit of extra health back. But this is really feeling like it's traveling downhill for DRX in a pretty big way, and it is only accelerating on that path. Owner is going to come on over and guarantee some plates here for Gumayusi as well, as Carrier just clearing out vision where he can. And I just don't know where it gets better for DRX. Where's the way back in? Where's the copium?
Game 2. I think the copium is that if T1 heavily overcommit and botch and engage into Xayah Maokai, there's the potential for them to turn it around.
Well, maybe it's
a rough start.
How about this? If they lose this game, it does not affect DRX's chances for playoffs.
Yeah, that's fair. On the back of that, you know, can they even lose?
True.
Yes, they can.
Well, Gumayusi now has his static shiv completed.
Well, that's pretty nice timing to have it.
Yep, not too bad. 9 minutes into the game, 3.5 on the next dragon. As Owner's coming up towards his top side now. This guy's sort of everywhere this game, as Rascal does throw down the Dominus, but he's still losing so much of his health bar. Crash down comes on in alongside the Magnet Storm, as Rascal does have the ability to slice his way out and doesn't even have to flash. But still, gonna have to vacate this area, doesn't have teleport, and so therefore the amount of pressure on this turret going to be very, very high.
Yeah, he's trying to get a heal off on those minions. Just trying to hold himself up in lane for a little bit longer. You can see Sponge on the top side of trying to defend against any potential dives, but definitely Rascal in a bit of a rough spot. But he didn't die, did he? In the flash, so you know, I think he'll live for another day.
Yeah, slicing on forward does find these minions, as eventually the wave is going to be thinned. Sponge moves in, and that is going to be a couple of the bubs going to be taken out here, as I think Pleta was just having a look at what was going on there with the Grand Entrance.
You know, that was the closest I felt to, oh, maybe, no, they don't have something. Back to just farming in the bot lane.
Yep. As at least Yehu's able to shove a minion wave towards Faker's turret. Still going to be able to catch the majority of those ones, though. As Gumayusi is going to push away this Rakan, the Extendo Battle Dance.
I think it's even more difficult because Guma has cleanse, so even in a scenario where Platter does get on top of them with an ult, you can just cleanse dash out.
And the other thing is, like, DRX, you can see how respectfully Teddy's playing. It's because they have just no vision at all, really, on where anyone is. Didn't have a lot of information. So Carrier coming down just to make sure that that is definitely a fact. Moving on in here, as Bubble is going to connect. Featherstorm is going to be used in response, as Carrier was tanking up that turret. And isn't really too phased by it at all.
It says a lot that you get rooted in a tower and nothing comes from it. Yeah, this is starting to feel very painful. They've backed off, so they're not going to end up dying to this play, but they are going to lose even more plates.
It's feeling a little bit rough here for DRX at this point in time. 3,000 gold and change is going to be the lead here. Is now Sponge looking for Faker. He's just going to wander northward, but yeah, who is going to be able to find that angle? There is a twisted advance in, and the explosive charge is going to be enough. Yeah, who locks that one down? So there's the first kill for DRX, as Rascal closing the distance onto Zeus as well, who finds himself a gold cup, but still will be culled. Don't know whether he's necessarily the meek though, as Destiny going to be utilized here. Over the wall goes Sponge, no gates to be opened for Zeus.
And actually some decent plating damage done there by Yehu. Obviously with Tristana, if you get some alone time on the tower, you're going to make some good progress. But yeah, a nice play to come out in return. DRX still trying to find an angle in, but doesn't really mitigate the 4 plates down in the bot lane.
Yeah.
Also, we already have, because Carrier got some of the plate gold, he already has Imperial Mandate completed. Look at the mid lane play. Yeah, just, I think if it, the problem is if it flashed, you can't really flash like up towards the Euron jungle. You kind of would have had to flash towards tower, and the root still would have hit you. So I think maybe he was just dead by that point, especially since he was already so low. Good gank from DRX on that one.
Yep.
And not only do we have the Imperial Mandate, it's also the support quest completed, which feels very early.
Yeah, so he's got Slay Mandate. Doesn't have any shoes, but I guess you don't need shoes when you just have a Finn.
Yeah, you know, kind of, if Cassiopeia doesn't need a buy,
I know, right?
Why does Nami?
Yeah.
We need some consistency there.
And you might ask the question like, well, why doesn't, what about Aurelion Sol, you know, and stuff
what
like
about
that.
Corki?
But he has little feet, you know?
Yeah, I guess Corki has little feet in his
lane. Exactly. There are feet in the plane.
You're not supposed to drive
barefoot, yeah.
Yeah. Although maybe he's wearing Crocs when he drives, but even then, that...
You'd still have to buy the Crocs.
Yeah.
So I don't think that gets you out of it. So anyway, maybe we'll see whether we can get to a point where Nami can get some movement speed scaling like Cassiopeia does. I think it would just make thematic sense.
Yeah, it would fit. How can you give Cassiopeia passive? It should be like a champion type passive, you know? Every Finn champion or tail... I mean, not every tail champion, every snake champion.
Yeah, okay.
Of which there is champion. One, yeah.
Which isn't Rascal. He still needs shoes, as you can see. Walking towards the lane. Gumayusi does have his rapid fire cannon now complete, and that is kind of ridiculous. Look at that lead.
Wait, he has I didn't see. I'm not the whole thing.
Plates are about to fall down, and he has 2 items. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that is 2 items.
Look at Zeus' items and look at Gumayusi's items.
He's just a better TF.
Yeah, he is. I mean, it's the Twisted Fusion and Twisted Fates in the game. He's actually just stealing his shopping list.
Wow, 500 gold from the plates in the bot lane. So not only a ton of plates, but...
And he was by himself for so many of those,
too. Yeah, 4 of them by himself, so... I don't know what you're supposed to do as Teddy and Platter.
Well, maybe just not picking Zyra.
Yeah, it comes back to the draft. I just don't know what you're supposed to do now with the situation.
Oh, right, yeah. And that is what we really should focus on.
Yeah.
Well, Zeus is now parking himself towards the bottom side of the map. He's going to start clearing out this Grom. And Gumayusi jumps underneath the turret. Teddy is at least going to be able to avoid a lot of that damage.
Guys, you shouldn't be opting into a fight, DRX.
Well, they do get a lot of vision down. There's a teleport in from the Renekton as well, as Faker not able to get any sort of snare onto him. And Rift Herald is just going to be given up. They're going to respect the teleport, because of course Zeus, he can't follow. It was a little bit too far away for a, I guess it's a level 2 Destiny gate. Still, is all the way in the bottom lane, and so Rift Herald is just going to be sacrificed. And understandably so, we haven't really seen Rift Heralds do all that much.
Yeah, there was one in the last series, piloted by, I believe, Aiming, where it just didn't seem to be that valuable of an objective.
Surely that's like the worst one that he's had this season, though, right?
No, it's not even.
Oh!
Would you believe? Not even the worst one he has had this season, interestingly enough.
It was not very good. Oh, dear. Going back to that one. Of course, we have had that conversation previously, so maybe we should be a little bit nicer to him. Boy. He's allowed to build static shivs now.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I'd forgotten about that, the illegal static shiv.
Yeah, as Yahoo is going to carry this ultimate underneath the turret. Good flash to get out of the Magna Storm. Very nicely done there by the Tristana player. Would have definitely died otherwise. And so now...
Are they looking for something? I mean... Yahoo's really low, but Sponge and Platter here to defend. But all they'll do is just keep him alive. They're still having to really play defensive.
Yeah. More minions going to die to that turret as well towards the top side as teleport back immediately from Faker, trying to keep on this pressure as much as he possibly can. The Seraph's Embrace has been completed as well. As Gumiushi has a 2-level lead, by the way. Just another fact to be thrown out.
I mean, I think we get it, right?
Yeah, he's very, very strong. And now he's going to demonstrate that by throwing this culling into Sponge. Not exactly the primary target, as Faker landing a lot of damage here. The interruption not going to be available onto Yahoo. Does safely rocket jump his way out. It's a lot of testing the waters here for T1, trying to find an angle, trying to get in there, and all the while just getting more things around the map.
Yeah, I will say, kind of a good advertisement for Frozen Heart with how fed this Lucian is, and the fact that Sponge was, even with nerfed Frozen Heart, he was kind of taking a lot less damage than I initially expected on the back of that culling. So, yep. DRX don't get anything positive from that, but they don't die at least. That's the take.
There we go. There we go. It's the positive is that it's not that negative. Gorgeous.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for. And you can see the gold graph is just steadily built up over time. And now Dragon up in 20 seconds. It's a Mountain Soul as well. And they already have like a 4,500 gold lead.
There's only great Drakes so far this game as well. Really impactful.
Thank you for appreciating me.
Yeah, no, you've done... It's been probably your best day. And this is your last casting day of the season, right? So we're going to need to get a Chemtech Soul in Game 2, right? Just as a goodbye. For old time's sake. Just to remind everyone that you have been so incredibly good for at least today.
Just show them what I could have been, you know?
Exactly. Could have been a full day of Chemtech Drakes. Like I believe we actually had only a few weeks ago. As Yahoo should be able to get the first turret for DRX. That is certainly good news.
Yeah, obviously Tristana great taking down those towers, and T1 had kind of moved that pressure down towards the Dragon. Faker been clearing waves on the top side, he moves mid, Guma moves towards Dragon, they get that.
That's Soul Point, just for nothing there, as Grand Entrance comes in, good battle dance from Fleta, getting himself out of the way of the tidal wave, but still Gumiushi takes half of Teddy's health bar by just pressing his R button. And so that's just free Soul Point.
Yeah, no real contest, and now they're trying to put the Herald down mid.
They succeed.
But it's difficult to really follow up and...
Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay, well, Teddy is just going to charge the turret. Let's see how he's going to do. As there's a Feather Storm, that gets him up there as Ona was kind of baited into this one. He will go down as the first kill, but Sponge is traded off as well. Destiny's going to come forward, and Rascal, yeah, he is just dead. It's a double kill for the Twisted Fate. Zeus not finished just yet. He could see some low health bars, and he just caught up to Gumiushi's build 6 minutes later. He finished his rapid fire cannon, wanted to put it to use.
Unless I got it. This is why they picked Xayah, because that's the only AD carry who you could send into that situation and not immediately have them get one shot.
Was it? I believe it may have been in error that he possessed Shelly in that moment. What do you think?
I don't know. It looked like he was kind of like, you know, let's look at it. Maybe it was accidental. I don't know. I feel like I would have just sent the Rakan, honestly. Probably would have died anyway, but at least it isn't your Xayah. Who obviously the ult does give you a bit of time and was in the end able to
They got a kill
right away.
But it is still a 2-for-1. in favor of T1. Doesn't really change the fact that things are looking a little bit dire for DRX.
Yeah, it's back up to over a 5,000 gold lead, and it's 3 minutes until Seoul.
And it's only been 6 kills in this game. You know, there's not really been a whole lot that has happened. This really does show that having this amount of lane dominance and control of the map really can just shut a team out of a game. As Ona pressed up extraordinarily far forward, you could see that Rascal wanted to see whether there was some sort of angle of approach. Does have Dominus coming off cooldown right now.
Behind them, but pings are coming out.
Yeah, gets towards the mid wave.
Oh, this is cheeky.
Pledder's moving in. They do spot the fact that the Tristana is down here, is now Faker. Not going to find too much. Ulti is going to be thrown over as Yahoo just dives on in. There's the flash forward. Quickness comes down and Faker is just going to be eliminated. That's a kill for Yahoo. So something on the other side of the rift here is T1. Speaking of the other side of the rift, they're going to see 2 people in the bottom lane and say it's Baron in time.
Yeah, and you know, essentially with the Twisted Fate there, they have 2 AD carries, so it is going down fairly quickly.
Extremely quickly. For 21.5 minutes, kind of ludicrous, but now Sponge is making his way forward. Tidal Wave is going to get a lot of value as the Featherstorm comes out, and now the Magnetstorm is going to catch Teddy, and he is just obliterated. Gumayushi so much damage as he's dashing after the Renekton as well. They kept the Baron leashed, and they're going to look for that one now as T1. The foot is never coming off the gas this game.
Yep, and the thing is, I actually like the play DRX went on the bot side.
Oh, you got to try and get something, but oh my god, okay. There's all 3 of those kills going over to the Lucian.
You got to try and get something, but the problem is, typically when you go for a play like that, you know, you have the solo laner, the Tristana having TP, and then when you make this play, they can TP up to the Baron, and it's a 4v4.
Yeah.
And you're still able to actually contest it. The problem is, you know, this play goes pretty well for them. The jump from Yahoo was a little bit off, but regardless, they get the kill. But now there's 2 members on the bot side. Neither of them have teleport available. It's a 3v4 on the top side, and you're already at a deficit. And we'll see here, Carrier very defensive with this flash, but the ult from Carrier forces the Featherstorm, and then Rel just has free reign.
Yeah, it's just so comfortable for Ona to get in there, lock them all down, and Gumayushi is going to be able to follow up with all of that damage that he has. Quick Blades completed already as item number 3 at 22 minutes.
Interesting, we often see like...
Okay, ulti going to connect onto Sponge here. The Unending Despair is named pretty well here for DRX right now, but Sponge is going to be able to keep himself alive, even able to walk back and get a bit of extra health from that redemption, but it's not going to save this inhibitor turret. T1 going to be able to break that one open. They've got 5 Void Grubs as well, and so the little mites helping take down these structures, so they are going to be able to break open the base. Look for a bit of a reset angle. Carrier does go home.
Yep, reset and Soul. It's that simple.
Yeah. 15 seconds until that one is now Faker is holding the fort.
Yeah, and it'll be DRX's opportunity to try and sneak in, get some vision. I think you just have to go for an all-or-nothing fight on this point. You are such a deficit. I think it's very hard to expect them to win this. But
yeah. Oh dear. Teddy taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, running low.
Faker wasn't even on the screen. It's so unfair. As now Renekton. Oh my god, Rascal taking so much damage. Does get a decent amount of health back with the Call the Meek, but he is still really dead. And Carrier now chasing after Faker, who's running real quick. Nature grasping at T1, but Faker is just going to say, no, thank you, Mr. Tree. And Sponge is going to join his Crocodile. Now a couple of 80 carries and a Rakan is all that's left of DRX to try and help this one. Shattering Strike onto Pleta, but not going to really do too much there. And T1 lost interest in the Dragon. They're just going to take this inner turret while they can.
Yep, and instead of opting just to peel away, take the objective, they can keep pressuring, you know, using these sideways really effectively. Often it's Zeus pushing the wave in, the rest of them rotate over. And DRX probably just hoping they can go to game 2 at this point.
Yeah, and the inhibitor turret going to be taken down. Inhibitor will follow there as well. Yes, it's just not really too many answers that DRX have. Not too many options that could possibly be had, right? Over the last, feels like 10 minutes, DRX just, there's no good choice you could make. They needed to make all of those decisions far earlier on if they really wanted to stand any sort of a chance. As Sponge going to at least be here to try and contest this Soul. As Pleta doesn't land onto Gumayushi, he doesn't even need to use the flash, just Relentless Pursuit necessary to get himself out of the way, as Faker going to connect some damage onto Sponge. Good twisted advance to avoid the Light Slinger from Gumayushi. And T1 they will regain control around this dragon. Control ward in the pit, though, for DRX. There's at least that, as Zeus is just splitting. So this could be Soul No, it's not. So the Soul is... Okay, never mind. Still up and available. I thought the Dragon's health bar was going down very low, but that was a control ward, so
okay, so Rascal's actually come back here, but I think he loses that 1v1 pretty hard.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a worry here, as Faker is going to be pushed back into DRX. He will be taken down first off, as Pleta somehow survives, but Sponge not going to be so lucky. And yeah, that 1v1 like you were talking about, the Twist Fate's going to take that, as Bubble going to be avoided, but that is Featherstorm now on cooldown for Teddy. He has to be very, very careful, as Yahoo diving forward, trying to find Gumiyushi, who is just going to flash his way out. The Destiny going to be utilized as back in base. They're trying to defend against this Twisted Fate, and Yahoo, he's going to be put into the bubble prison. Owner is going to take the soul. Pleta will die as these cards do find him, and he will take down the Nexus. T1, an absolute flattening of pick Zyra Khan.
You know, I'm honestly going to say it. I actually think there are very specific circumstances I could see like Zyra being good. If like the enemy team is all dive and they have like Nocturne and stuff, it can make sense. But that was a horrible place to pick it, and it was bad in the draft, and it's also just not been successful generally, so I don't know why. I've said this many times. I think if you're trying to get an upset and you're against a team who are significantly higher in the standings, just pick Smolder and pray for the Mega Win Con. It's what we saw Nongshim do, and instead they're going to go for the Lucian Army themselves. Don't want to play against Guma on Lucian.
Well, Darius AD carry? That'd be kind of crazy. Yeah, we saw that in, what was it, like quite a few seasons ago. That was like Kramer on a Freak of Freaks picking it up. That's going to be Aphelios as the chosen answer here. Gumiyushi did see it in our previous series, and he's like, wait, I can play Aphelios again? Hell yeah. And he is going to lock that one away as Owner, he steals the tree. Sponge is going to steal the horse pants.
Yeah, they looked at T1's composition in game 1 and went, you know, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's just do that.
Well, that is precisely what they're going to do. And now if they pick Zyra Khan on 4-5, we're going to be really confused.
Yeah, I'm hoping with the Lucian Army picked up that they won't pick Zyra Khan on 4-5, but you know, you never really know with DRX.
I was going to say crazier things have happened, but they haven't. That would be completely absurd.
That would be pretty bonkers.
Yeah. So the Lulu, understandably, going to be picked up here. So we've got junglers and bottom lanes, and so solo lane's going to take up these next remaining bans. What do they not want to see? I imagine a Twisted Fate ban is probably going to come out from DRX, and then maybe a like Twisted Fate Corki or something like that to be removed.
I mean, I feel like we often see AD mids paired up with the Maokai, so potentially they can start to target some of those if you're really concerned. Jax being banned, you know, maybe the Aatrox is something that Zeus wants to go back to. He did say in a statement for the match that he's been playing a ton of Aatrox, so he's exploring more options. But, you know, Old Faithful definitely could just bring it back. So
I think it's okay to be a bit committed. I think that's fine. You don't need to always be exploring other options.
Plus, you could be exploring them in scrims and perhaps not showing them in a match against DRX. Is also something. I'm not sure if Zeus plays Aatrox in this game. I'm not sure anyone's going to glean a lot of information about. Oh, Aatrox is a good pick for Zeus. Wow, who would have known?
That's absolutely incredible. We're going to write that down in our diary, our little notebook.
Write that down.
Yeah, try and get that information so that it sticks. As Talia going to be the final ban here on T1 side. And I still do think that you probably want to take away something like a Twisted Fate, but instead the Tristana to avoid the Tristana-Maokai combination that straight up didn't work well enough for DRX. And as we mentioned, yeah, the Twisted Fate.
Yeah, which is interesting because it's not something we always see that much blind. Clearly, a lot of confidence from Zeus that he'll be able to handle whatever matchup. I think it's also important he knows what jungle he's gone into. Rel obviously has a lot of setup for ganks and stuff, but I feel like if there was like a Sejuani plus Renekton, that's when you'd start to feel like, okay, maybe you could get ganked heavily and they could just play through top. Although, to be honest, the 1v1 is so bad, I don't think it even matters. Yeah, Aatrox is going to come through Axie for DRX. You know, it's still a good matchup for the Twisted Fate, but a little bit better than Renekton, and looks like it might just be that Corki in the mid lane. So I think DRX's composition's better. You know, I do think that the mid and top lane matchups are going to be pretty good for T1. but, you know, it's a scaling mid-jungle from T1. I think DRX have given themselves better tools. Whether that's enough for them to translate this into a win is a different question.
Yeah, for me, it actually does look like at least DRX has a time of the game where they can fight, right? They're going to hit a great mid-game spike that they can try to fight around, maybe get themselves the second Drake, third Drake, something like that, and get themselves into the game. Of course, the ultra late game will belong to T1 almost exclusively. It's going to be very, very difficult. We know that Faker can hit these rockets very effectively, and maybe I have just been thinking too much about what T1 wants to do, because I named the 2 champions that they picked as the bans that DRX should have gone for. And if DRX then wins, then they're geniuses, because they knew just better.
And if they lose,
then I'm a moron. But that's fine. I mean, I think that that's just it's just one of those things. It sort of adds to the vibe.
Yeah.
That's what I'm sort of thinking. It also gives us a game number 3, which is precisely what we want. We don't want DRX just to roll over, and I think with this composition, they may not necessarily. Still, T1, a whole lot of power, especially around late game macro and things like that with Maokai and Twisted Fate. My goodness, the amount of vision control they're going to have is absurd. Let's jump onto the Rift here for game number 2.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Okay, you could hear some lingering in the DRX chants there, trying to make their voices known to their team so they can have a better performance here in game number 2. See whether it is actually going to be enough to do so.
Yeah, I think they certainly will have a better performance than in game 1, because the bar is very low.
Yeah, it is definitely low.
Yeah. Well, that's the positive you can take away from this one, that it would struggle to be worse than game 1. But still, as we said, I think there's a lot of draft elements that are better here for DRX. A lot more agency in the mid-game and potential to at least try and make things happen. I think ultimately top lane, there's not a ton you can do as Aatrox against TF unless TF makes mistakes or you find a good angle. Mid lane, I hope to see Yahoo, who has been a good addition to this roster. I hope to see him make his impact known on the map. If you're into a Corki, you definitely should. Bot lane's a big question mark for me, because we've seen lanes like Aphelios, Lulu really bully out in the 2v2, and when it's Guma carrier, it's intimidating to go up against. So it's something we've talked about with DRX, is that bot lane has kind of been the strongest point over the course of the split. They really need to be in this one.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Teddy and Pleta do have at least one win on the Lucian Nami, as Pleta is making me feel silly for saying so, as he's taking a lot of damage. Carrier playing so far forward here, throwing these glitter lances out, getting picks involved. As Ebb and Flow going to try and even this one out just a little bit. Just a lot of fighting. Yeah, a lot of clean advantages being gleaned.
We actually saw Lulu buff, so like hit Q, if both bolts hit, there's like more damage. Because it used to be the second bolt had like heavily reduced damage. It's still reduced, but not by as much. Like more shielding and damage on an E and things like that. So actually this has gone very well for DRX. T1 kind of overstepped with the trades, didn't focus down the minions, and as a result it's DRX to get level 2 first.
Oh, Sponge also wrapping around as well, as Gumayusi is stepping out into the lane. This could be an opportunity for the Rel to really try and create an advantage for the bottom lane.
Flip the entire game on a level 3 dive.
Yeah, and Teddy, see, trying to make this one happen. There is the crash down on top of Gumayusi, who does eventually flash. That is going to keep him alive, as now Owner is making his way in, and Sponge is extraordinarily low. The Bramble Smash does push him away, but they're looking to turn it. Flash out from Owner is Teddy. Oh, he doesn't find the double tap, and there's the flash out from Carrier. Everyone is so incredibly low. As Pleta, he really wants to do it, but it's just not going to happen. Look at this, sub 100 health for both of these bottom laners, and Owner can't do anything about it because he's also excruciatingly low. Yep, the Hex Flash over as Sponge makes his way in. There it is! The crash down to interrupt it as well, but Teddy is also going to die. So it's a 1-for-1, and First Blood does go over to DRX. There is that. But T1 get one back, and so it's not the end of the world.
That was on the cusp of being so fantastic for DRX, but a couple of moments that went in favor of T1, and suddenly it's a 1-for-1, and it is the Rel who gets the First Blood, unfortunately.
Faker doesn't lose on Corki, by the way, guys.
A lot of winning.
Yeah, spectacular amounts of winning. Let's go back to this one once again, as I feel like Yeah, Sponge went down extraordinarily low at the beginning. I did really like how they played it early on.
Yeah, you know, they get the sums from Guma, get a lot of damage down into him. And then here, Ona just doesn't have the damage, and Guma and Carry are on there to support. But unfortunately here, just doesn't get the double tap on Ona. Not sure if he lost vision when he stepped in the brush.
How did he die? Let's, I'm going to keep my eye on Teddy here.
Oh, he took aggro.
Right.
Yeah, he was the one who took aggro. So he started the trade on Guma, but didn't quite have the damage. So Sponge finished him with a Q. And Teddy... The thing is, I think if they'd approached it with the mindset of Sponge getting aggro, maybe Teddy just cleans up both Guma and Carrier.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Obviously didn't plan out that way.
Oh, more Hex Flash value. Here we go, Sponge. Start charging it up as Jonas Strong turns it off. And there we go. The crash down on top of him, straight into the bubble. And Teddy, he's going to be able to pick up the kill this time around.
This is what I'm talking about. You know, a good return gank. You know, all the summoners are down. DRX actually making things happen. Crazy how the game plays out when you don't pick Zyricon.
That is, in fact, the takeaway. Absolutely brilliant. And that's like, I think it's also brilliant because now I feel like Lucian is a great pick because it's better than Zyricon. So there we go.
That's the selling point for Lucian.
Some
it's
Lucian
not worse than Zyricon.
Precisely.
I do feel like, to be fair, today we've had some pretty solid Lucian games. Definitely a finesse pick, and you know, it's a good advantage for DRX obtained here. The wave being so big, T1 don't expect to be aggressed on, but the CC layering solid. You know, good start. Whether they can transition this Lucian from this point into a win is a big question, but this is definitely the direction you want the game to be going in.
Yep, precisely. Good start. You can see towards the top side of the map, Zeus is making a lot of money. That's why you see T1 with still a gold advantage. Sponge, though, going to be able to utilize the Rel in order to take a Void Bub. Full information over to T1, as you can see, with a ward in the pit, but not going to be able to do anything about it. And you've got Ono moving towards the bottom side. He may actually just start off this Hex Tech Drake, as we do have a Chem Tech for today's Soul in this particular game, as Faker not going to find that rocket there, as now Sponge continuing his rampage on the Rift, going to get a Valkyrie out. And T1 actually going to back away from this, not wanting to do this Drake with Sponge in the area. He's just too scary.
Yep, I mean, he has so much potential to steal it on the Rel. Also, just Corki being so weak at this point in the game. And for DRX, this is huge. Giving Dragons over to a Corki team early, when you know later on the package is going to be there, is really painful. So I'm glad he moved down to interrupt that. And T1 are respectful and don't overcommit for it.
Yep. Not going to be the Drake picked up for DRX or anything like that. Sponge could now possibly look at that as an opportunity, but you can see Ono still in the area, and there are full camps available towards the top side of the map for Sponge. So actually probably wanting to go over there, lock those down, but he's been spending so much time in this bottom lane, hasn't been able to take it, as Faker. Some damage onto Yehu here, but he's happily soaking that one up. And Bubble going to connect, actually, as Teddy dashes in. Tycola's blessing, a lot of extra damage as he is turned into a critter, that polymorph, but a little bit late. Damage had kind of been done. Still, going to lose out on the trade.
They get the barrier from Guma, so I think DRX are fine with that. They'll be able to sustain back up with Platter's healing. But that health is still low now, and they are doing the Dragon. Sponge should just be able to secure this.
Yep. Scattering Strike comes in. That's going to lock that one down. So Ona in position. Doesn't actually do too much about it, as Yahoo really good trade onto Faker here, landing the charm. As we check in on the top lane, Rascal having a rough one. As we know, we'll be able to pick up this wave and should equalize somewhat as far as farm is concerned. So it should only be 10 behind or something like that. And in a matchup into the Twisted Fate that is so incredibly lane dominant, especially in the early stages against melee champions, it's not the end of the world here for DRX on the top side.
Yeah, I mean, the expectation is going to fall behind. We do see the Comet, which is a typical take for Aatrox. We saw this originally when it was like Aatrox and our meta.
Yep.
But just if you're able to land those combos, get a Q in, you can just sweet spot can result in the Comet damage. But ultimately, it looks like Rascal hasn't really found any window for good trades. So Zeus played it pretty well. And he's the only one in the game with a lead as a result. Obviously, he does cheat, so he has extra gold as a result.
Could have added money for the Twisted Fate, but still, DRX definitely just looking so much better than the previous game. maybe this is that happy game you were talking about. Maybe this is the opportunity for T1. And I kind of hope that it isn't, because I really do like undefeated streaks. Remember, it was very sad when Faker's LeBlanc finally lost. Took a while for that to happen.
But it was pretty hype.
It was definitely hype in a Game 5 at MSI the very first time of that tournament.
Perhaps we can save the hype of the Porky loss for, you know, maybe like a big playoff game.
Yeah, there is an MSI coming up, so we could utilize that one. But it might happen just here, but Gumiushi is going to try and stop that, as the heal does have to be utilized. You mentioned the barrier from earlier. That is on cooldown, but actually an even trade in the end, as Teddy just trades for the culling.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, Tidal Wave actually going to be utilized here, as Carrier is in so much trouble. Piercing Light comes down. That is going to be Teddy locking down the kill onto the Lulu, and no rel required for that one, really.
Yep. And it was so clear that everyone watching and Carrier knew that he was dead in that situation. Doesn't bring flash, doesn't bring ult, saves all his cooldowns, accepting the fate. So when he does return, which is pretty fast, he's already running back over with the home guard buff. He'll still have all cooldowns if a skirmish does break out. Guma's so low already.
Yeah, you can see Teddy throwing so much damage down into this Aphelios. And Sponge and Ona doing battle. Sponge, of course, knows that he has the backup from the rest of his team, as Carrier does make his way down here. So Wild Growth now at the ready, as Ona going to be slowed down.
Yeah, and you don't want to get baited in here. Wild Growth and Barrier back off cooldown.
And Crescendum as well.
Yeah, definitely better that they just apply the pressure and don't look to capitalize more of it. It is already the Shiv Lucian, so much pushing power in this lane. And the thing is, if Guma's on a tower this low, like, you're just getting chipped down by the static Shiv. Of course, they are going to go for a reset now.
Yep.
Pleta not quite able to afford the mandate, unfortunately.
Not quite there just yet, but is pretty close as the chains come on through. And Rascal not going to be able to find too much more. So Zeus underneath his turret for now, so you can see that Rascal has been able to get a little bit back as far as any form of control. As Faker has opted in for the Hex Drinker, which we have seen more and more of, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I think before, because of the Malignant's Eclipse interaction, you were so set in those 3 items that people weren't going Hex Drinker. Oh,
this is pretty nice. Sweet Spot does come on through there onto Zeus still. Quite enough in the tank to really threaten a kill or anything like that, but it does look like Rascal's having a better time now.
Yeah, finally found that good trade. But yeah, as I was saying, back then it was like the Hex Drink delay was pretty significant, but now that 3-item spike isn't the same, so you can just build more third, and it's kind of doing a similar job to the Eclipse, where it just gives you a ton of AD. You know, the interaction between Malignance and Eclipse is gone, and as a result isn't as big of a deal.
Yep. Destiny going to be used to gate Zeus towards that top lane. Doesn't have teleport, so he has to use his ult. And now has his static Shiv complete as well. Swifty Boots also done, so he can run around pretty quickly, get out of the Infernal Chains. And now we're going to check this one out one more time. Yeah, Carrier, like you mentioned, just kind of knew that he was dead.
Yep, and the ult obviously doesn't hit from Pleta, but it's a good one, completely splitting them. So Carrier had no choice but to walk downwards, which sealed his fate. And now the mandate's actually finished, so Pleta getting a recall in, specifically to pick it up there.
Yeah, so a lot of extra power, and already Teddy and Pleta were looking really good. As the Lucian Demption has been pretty ridiculous, as Zeus just stepping out of these sweet spots beautifully on the Twisted Fate. Not going to step out of that one as I say it, but that's a caster curse. Those are real. Jat reminded me of it earlier on today. As Ona sidestepping really nicely, crashed down on top of him, but there's the charm to come on through from Yahoo. Ona did utilize the Twisted Fate, the Twisted Advance quite well, but now it's Sponge that's in trouble, and Faker, he delivers a package, has to flash out immediately, but the Tidal Wave not going to be enough there as the Maokai picks up the kill, and Teddy has to cleanse and flash to get himself the heck out of this one. Somehow T1 keep themselves alive.
Ends up being a huge misplay from DRX, just opting for the fight. Sponge misses the Q, still goes for the play anyway, but you're approaching such a dangerous position on the map, you know, going into that choke where you don't have vision as well. It was so easy for T1 to defensively fight from there, and then the package comes in as well.
And look at this, it's exactly as promised. Thank you so much. Chemtech Drake going to come on through for the Soul.
I did say it.
Yep. That is now 1 apiece for both of these teams, so 3 Chemtechs available. And with Nami and Lulu, you know, there is a bit of extra value there. Because we're going to check this fight out one more time. A bit of a mess here.
Yeah, I mean, the Q misses, they approach in, but from this position, it's so hard for DRX to approach. The ult catches both carries, and also Guma's like hitting from over the wall from complete safety, flashes in when all the cooldowns have been burned, and it's a fantastic charm from Yehu, but it just doesn't matter. No. It just doesn't mean anything when you've already lost so much in this fight. And the frustrating thing is I actually think a skirmish in that 4v4 is winnable for DRX.
It's what their composition wants to do. It's 14 minutes into the game. Mandate was done. You've got the first item spike for Teddy. Doesn't get much better than this.
Just step 1, don't focus Maokai as your first target. Step 2, don't engage into a sort of choke where the enemy carries are so safe over the wall.
Yeah. And then don't get hit by every single button. And don't do it while Faker has package.
Yeah, a lot of ifs.
Yeah, there's a few things that you have to take into account, but once you do that, it should be all right.
That's just League of Legends, you know? You have to take a few things into account. Bish, bash, bosh, and you're good. Yeah. You know? But clearly slipped their mind a little bit.
The where good part didn't actually occur. That bit didn't work out. As at least Sponge going to be able to take the Rift Herald. We've seen so far today it's been, if you take the Rift Herald, oftentimes you lose the game. As Cannon secured by Rascal. Very nicely done.
Yeah, it definitely feels like Dragon, the higher priority objective. A lot of the time, the Herald, if you're behind, it's not even enough to break the mid-tier 1. Like, we know that Herald can have high value, and mid-tier 1's really important to try and defend, but so many times, and I imagine that's the goal for T1 again this game, is that when the Herald gets slammed down, you manage to fight them off it, and yes, the mid-tier 1 ends up lower, but it doesn't go down.
No. So Empowered back going to be utilized here from Sponge. Going to be able to go back home. Does have his Frozen Heart done. Null Magic Mantle now as well alongside it. And Teddy now just zapping minions here in this mid lane. Gumushi there with red-white guns at the ready.
I also love the redemption pickup from Carrier. When there's potential for a lot of poke from a pick like the Lucian, we saw earlier today aiming getting poked out by Viper's Lucian and lost him a dragon. Having the redemption, just being able to reset. Super valuable. Also going the Dreammaker. We've seen so many Lulus go the Souls to Slay. Yeah. I hate it, right? I just, like, you're not great at proccing it on Lulu.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to Glitter Lance them. I mean, you do have slows in your R and W, but, like, Dreammaker, getting the extra damage reduction, I think, has a lot more value.
Yep. And in fact, I think Carrier has gone for Dreammaker more than a lot of our other supports, if I remember correctly. All right, Ona is going to get a Magnet Storm out and is just going to take a massive amount of damage and die. Yeah, that's pretty good work here for DRX. Not a lot to fight for in the river towards its bottom side, so Ona probably just wasn't expecting the whole gang to be down here. Zeus finding a gold card onto Rascal.
Yeah, they catch him isolated, and also when...
Oh, not going to get the sweet spot on the second Q, and may just get autoed to death. There we go. Zeus going to lock that one up. That's a solo kill. As Charm, not going to be utilized, as Yehu didn't find the angle between the minions onto Gumushi. And we are going to see Rel charge the Rift Herald towards the inner turret. So that's a fair bit of Herald value, actually, as Teddy doing a lot of work on the Carrier as well.
I was pretty critical of the Herald usage we've had today, but that was a pretty good one. Managing to get the pick on Ona paid off a lot. They do suffer on the top side in return. So this TF is becoming an issue, but
yeah,
still positive play for DRX.
Certainly is. And T1 only have a 300 gold lead at this stage of the game this time around, and last time it was about a 6,000 gold lead.
Yeah, just great angle from Sponge. And the thing is, with the Knight's Vow rush we often see from tank junglers, a lot of your tankiness relies on someone dealing damage to give you the healing.
Yeah.
When you're isolating alone, you're not actually that tanky. And yeah, you know, Rascal's been trying to find these angles all game, but the Ghost is such a powerful tool in the 1v1 against the Aatrox.
And they're just barely out of range of these Qs.
Red
makes Rascal look a little bit silly.
Yep, and now, look at the TF items, by the way.
Whoa.
Yeah, quite a few picked up. You know, you can actually see
pretty cheesy.
Teddy also has similar numbers of items, but this chef is definitely not something you want to go up against as Rascal.
No, absolutely
or
not.
Anyone.
Yeah, Sponge also not psyched about it, as we can see here. Demonstrated immediately afterwards. Really glad that you mentioned that, and then we did get the immediate response that, oh, also Sponge not happy about it. We'll have to check in on Yehu, Teddy, and Pleta to see whether they enjoy going up against the Twist of Fate, and we might get a bit of a look at that as the third dragon of the game has been started up.
T1 have the Banana Brush control.
Oh, that is imperative.
To start laying down poke from.
Well, we do have the Scryer's Bloom, but it's actually Zeus that takes that one away from Yehu, misses the charm. It's just been so incredibly swift. As okay, there's the steal. Sponge likely to die, but he's done his job. And there we go. Lockdown does come on through. Fans pretty psyched about how DRX are playing this one out, at least in the stealing dragons aspect. Faker with a package to deliver. But unfortunately, DRX just not home to really pick. Oh, never mind. They're just in their summer home in the mid lane, and Rascal is going to suffer the wrath of the deliveries.
Yep, great move by T1, able to turn that one around and get the mid lane tier 1, and also a kill there. Sponge trading life for the dragon is fine. I think you would feel a lot better if it was any other dragon, though. Being honest.
But you're the whisperer of the Chemtech. Shouldn't you be the one that tells us that actually it's fine and it's a great dragon?
No, that's not.
Oh, that's not how that one works.
That's not how it works.
Little Snowman Teddy is immediately going to cleanse, actually, get out of that gold card. Cullen comes on through and does a lot of damage to Zeus here as they're still looking to chase after. There's the Flash Magnet Storm as Yahoo is going to get immediately CC'd as he dives in. And now Sponge is in trouble. Gumushi has red-white, and that is a dangerous time. Teddy now below 100 health. As the Destiny does come on in, and Yahoo, he's not going to survive. The Destiny doesn't really do too much as far as gate value, but still T1 going to move towards the Baron, as they love to do it 20 minutes into the game.
Yeah, I mean, the fact they only got one kill isn't really the difference maker, but the fact everyone is chunked out, you know, there's an opportunity to go for this Baron. You can see Sponge moving over, but still low HP.
Oh, he is very dangerous, though, as far as steals are concerned. Still slowed down by the sapling as Faker wanting to get him out of this pit. And he's set up, does have the extra movement speed as well. They do have the scuttle control, and Nature's Grasp says that there is no way they're stopping this Baron from going down. So T1, give him an inch and they will take a Baron every single time. That's just how it goes. Gumushi completes his Infinity Edge as well. Item number 2. Rush that one, and we're going to see this one more time. It looked like Teddy was in massive amounts of trouble, but does manage to trade it back very well. And then things start going horribly wrong.
Yeah, this is unfortunately just some of the difference, because if that charm lands on Aguma, I think this fight goes completely differently. But him flashing out, getting an opportunity to turn it around, dealing the DPS. And the thing is, this Ahri goes to the charm, but no one's there to follow up. And the TF gets so much value in just limiting the Ahri's effectiveness. Every time we've seen Yahoo try and step up, it's like the threat is just there that Zeus will run at you, auto you, and then also stun card you.
Yeah. And the threat of this gold card has just been a bit silly. We've seen so many Twisted Fate bans over the last couple of weeks, even after the recent nerfs on this particular patch. Just wasn't enough. We kind of thought that maybe Twisted Fate was kind of done, but as it turns out, and from what we've seen, especially from Zeus in the last couple of games, Champion is still ridiculously powerful. As Mega Cone going to deliver Carrier Gumushi towards this bottom lane. Zeus was pressuring the top lane. Rascal now up there by himself as Sponge and Teddy trying to convince Owner to leave the junk. Oh my god, this damage onto Teddy is getting a little bit silly. He's going to have to try and cull to stop them from doing any more damage to this inner turret as Owner suffers at least 2/3 of his health bar as the connection of the Moonshot.
Yeah, Faker actually going Eclipse first rather than the Malignant typically see.
Kind of nutty is. Okay, Zeus just going to avoid the charm and just wanders his way out. He's so incredibly fast. The Infernal Chains do not activate, and they finally... Oh, never mind. Okay, there it is. The third Q going to come on through. It took 4 people, not the 3 they initially invested, as now Rascal could be in trouble. Good Bramble Smash, but there's the crash down onto Owner as well. Still, the Moonshot. What's the Moonlight Vigil? That's the one.
Moonlight Vigil.
The big old ultimate from Gumushi did a fair bit of work. And T1 able to at least convince them to leave. Still, it is an advantage for DRX. They get rid of Zeus.
Yeah, but it just feels kind of crazy how much had to be invested for him to finally go down. The value on that Ghost, pretty massive in that situation. Able to dodge, dip, dive, duck, you know, with the...
I think he could dodge a wrench.
I definitely think he could dodge a wrench. And as a result, I assume that he could also dodge a bull.
Yeah, I would think so. And unfortunately, we're never going to know because none of these champions throw balls.
Yeah, unfortunately, he couldn't dodge
and there are a lot of ball-throwing champions, like Ziggs and Orianna and Syndrome.
Yeah, I think...
Yep, cover me, is what he's saying.
The problem was, he couldn't dodge a flash.
Yeah. And Aatrox no flash, don't worry guys.
Yep,
just making sure that he lets everyone know that it wasn't because of any sort of misplay, it was because flash, and that is a broken ability. Wildcard's going to be avoided. And we can check in on the damage dealt. Zeus at the top of the table. And this time around, Teddy second. So some redemption for our boy Teddy. This gold card can be collected on the way past there from Sponge.
Kerry is the one who has redemption.
Oh, sorry, yes. He's also got a bell.
Yep. All bells and whistles put together. And we see DRX. I mean, the fact they got that dragon earlier kind of takes away the pressure of wanted to secure all these dragons. They'll just lean top instead, look to take a tower. The problem is, I don't think the game necessarily gets better for them as it goes on. So sure, you know, by taking a dragon, you extend the game, you extend the soul timer, but do you really want to be fighting for soul at 35, 40 minutes against this T1 comp?
Probably not, but I also still think that DRX, if they get into a 5v5 scenario, this composition does have legs, right? Like, you are actually able to always fight with a rel comp like this.
It is Xayah-less, so we're okay.
Yeah, and there is no Xayah. So it is, there are definite positives. 3 items are now done for Teddy as well. Infinity Edge, Rapid Fire Cannon, and the Static Shiv, so he is very powerful. We saw that when Gumushi hit that spike in the last game, it was devastating. We'll see whether Teddy can emulate that in this game as well as we tick over 25 minutes. The end game almost upon us as the mid game is drawing to a close. Next Baron going to be up in 1 minute and 20 seconds. T1 wanting their second of the game. We'll see whether DRX can get themselves some vision in the area. Already you can see that control ward getting pinged out by T1 towards the top side of the map. I think Faker will be able to deal with that. I think they will be able to make things very dark.
The hardest thing when you're playing against a TF is that for a composition like DRX's, you imagine like the Aatrox, the Ahri playing on a flank being so powerful, but all you have to do is plant Zeus covering the flanks. If he doesn't have vision, he can ult and just zone.
Yeah.
And suddenly it becomes impossible to really find those angles. So on top of that, you have the saplings as well. It really is difficult. Sponge is looking for an angle here, but as long as T1 play towards this Baron side, not really much that can be done.
Yeah, well, Twist of Fate towards the bottom side of the map for now as Gumushi does sacrifice his shield for Teddy. And that's not the barrier shield, that's just the shield from Carrier.
Yeah.
That's the value of Chemtech, Drake. Just one.
Yeah, that's the difference making.
Yeah, that was it. And you would know better than most, Orcs, because you are the whisperer of the Chemtech. In what could have been your final game of the regular season on the commentary desk, you leave us with this glorious soul.
It has
to see all of its value.
Yep. All the shielding and healing.
Oh, and the tenacity. Everyone's so tenacious this game.
Yep, there's a lot of tenacious value here.
Yeah.
Oh, I think Faker might have Malignance, and he does have level 16. Yep, okay, well...
And a package, if he would like it. Just gonna
Are they
hold
gonna...
off. Yeah, there we go.
You know, typically teams sync it with the dragon every time, but I think they've kind of realized that DRX just will opt out of contesting Chemtech dragons. So they're like, okay, instead,
Baron.
we're going to do the T1 special and just start a Baron.
And you can just deliver them a package if they do decide to come on over. Much easier than going to their house, you know?
Okay, with a little hop, skip, and a jump, Sponge can make it from there to the Baron with Flash and his W, but Carrier's looking.
Yeah, they do have control vision in this area. Sponge finds himself a decent Shattering Strike. There's the package out from Faker. That is going to block them off entirely, and Sponge is thrown around like a ragdoll. There's the Moonlight Vigil. That's going to connect onto him as the Baron. Oh, that's going to be the cue to follow it up. As now Teddy looking for Faker here. He finds him, but I don't know whether he really wants to, as the Rockets not going to find the mark. Good sidestep there from Teddy as Destiny comes through just for the extra vision. The Mega Blast Cone gets them all the way away from this Baron. And Zeus, he turns up. That is going to be a gold card from 1,000,000 miles away and a couple of screens. He is going to just transition into picking up the kill onto both of the damage dealers of DRX. I guess Rascal is going to be there, but he is not actually there. And T1 just going to push towards this inhibitor turret in the mid lane. I felt like that play was going to work, but I didn't know it was going to work that well, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I saw the angle from Sponge. I love that they tried to turn it into a fight instead of just going for the immediate play, but it was just so hard for them to find an avenue there.
Well, Faker raining down these rockets here as Pleta going to have to get out of there. Does flash. And DRX just, if they just stand here and take these rockets, it is just going to be really difficult to defend this. And the first Nexus turret is going to go down. One siege minion remains, so they're not actually able to stand in range of the Nexus turret there. So teleport is going to come through from a flank here, as Yahoo wants to find an opportunity. Should be able to wrap around, but I don't know what he can do as a lone Ari. As the rocket is going to connect, so not even able to come in at full health. So he's just supervising them.
Oh.
Okay, Teddy's going to try his hand. Okay, and Tidal Wave is beautiful, but doesn't really do anything at all. DRX now just looking for Soul Point. If they can possibly get it. Zeus is going to say, no, you're not allowed to have that, as the charm goes entirely wide, and Zeus just does so much damage. There is the twisted advance forward from Ona, and Redemption going to come on through as well. Faker collects the kill onto the Nami that was delivered, and Sponge going to jump over his own base gate. Zeus just, as soon as he has that gold card above his head, he is so incredibly scary. And there it is. Stun going to come down onto Sponge, but wildcards do not connect. Not that they really do all that much damage anyway. 4 items Twisted Fate is pretty silly.
Yeah, he has Infinity Edge as well, so he, you know if you take a lot of autos from him, he'll hit, but he just chunks now.
Yeah, well, there's a Magnet Storm trying to do something here, but Ona not too worried about it, as we can see, and Sponge is just going to be taken down pretty unceremoniously. Zeus now looking for Rascal here as well, as he's tanking up the turret, and the Nexus is just going to go down. T1 with a very